Welcome back. You're still watching Finweek Money Matters. While statistics by Goldman Sachs report released this year show that despite a large number of black South Africans moving into the middle class over the past 21 years, 85% of blacks remain poor, while 87% of whites are in the middle or upper class. Our recent student protests highlight the impact of the lack of transformation across universities and the private sector. We're going to discuss this, and joining me to do that and to discuss why the youth of South Africa are so frustrated with the lack of economic transformation in the country is the head of media and public affairs at the South African Institute of Race Relations, Mienke Steytler, lead economist and researcher at Nascence Research Insight, that is Xhanti Payi, and Finweek Journalist Shandukani Mulaudzi. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. Mienke, let me start with you. There are these campaigns that Buhle mentioned earlier, Roads Must Fall. Do you think that having these particular campaigns addresses the bigger issue around transformation?
No, it does not. It does not address the bigger underlying root causes. However, these campaigns are extremely important in starting the conversation. So these campaigns, especially from the student point of view as well. So that's really good to see. It's great to see that the students have seen what they deem as wrong and have started to take action, but it has to go much deeper than that. And we want to see that the debate is not only about colonial or post or apartheid statues and heritage, but we also want to see that the debate spreads to education, to employment, job creation, and those sorts of things.
Xhanti, I'd like you to respond to this, but about a few weeks ago, I saw something in the newspaper that had the Rhodes students there, and it said the headline was "Rebel Without a Cause." I'd like you to address what Mienke had said, but also, do young South Africans have the right to be frustrated?
Yeah, look, I think the one thing that's quite interesting is that today is the birthday of the Constitution. And amongst the most important things is a point of equality. And one of the students are saying, and I went to a debate recently where they were talking, and they were saying, if we talk about the representation of colonialism, what they're trying to change also is the sense in which, if you go to a lecture, for example, as a student, the way it is, material is presented, the type of stuff that is included in the curriculum does not actually make them feel as if they are part of the system. So it's almost exclusionary, particularly if you think about the kind of education you're going to get to go forward, particularly if you think also about moving the country forward towards. So the way you are taught, the teaching and learning at university is very important if we are going to transform the university. But one of the things that I think is quite important as well is the way we look at each other. And I think that is one of the things that they want to talk about, in which they're saying, look, if I go to a class and I put up my hand at a tartan and we're discussing, say, for example, at a humanities lecture, and I have an idea, does my lecturer look at me in the same manner as they look at my white colleague, or and they're thinking, look, it is not quite the same thing. And so if I'm not looked at the same way, my ideas don't rise to the same level, then the output at the university level is not going to be quite the same. So those are the things that they are trying to address. So they are a little bit beneath that, but I think obviously we still have a lot of work to do, certainly. But so the cause is very much there. It's very much there, and I think people are misunderstanding it by only focusing on the campaign as if it was just about a statue. It isn't. It is just a representation of a much bigger problem.
It's deeper than that. Shandukani?
I think what Xhanti just said is very, very important. It is a problem that people are seeing what students are asking for as just a matter about a statue. There are bigger issues. People are fighting because, well, at the end of the day, I can graduate, but I'm not necessarily going to get a job because, well, my friend knows someone who knows someone at a top law firm, for example, but I don't have that same kind of connection, so I'm not going to get into that law firm, even though my marks are amazing. So I think those are the things that people are saying, I'm not seen. People are fighting to be seen, and they're fighting to be seen in the same way as someone else. They also want to be human. And I think those are the things that students are saying, can we just have real change? That's what people want. They want real change. They don't want to see things that are sort of, whitewashing, for example, where things look like they're changing, but they're not really.
Mienke, in 2015, I really wouldn't think that we'd still be grappling with these issues, especially when you look at the born frees. This is a generation that is said to be born out of the shackles of our past. Do you think that born frees is a sham?
Well, a report that we brought out last week looked specifically at that age group. So those people would be 24, maybe turning 25 this year and younger then. And unfortunately, yes, we feel that they are not truly free. They don't have economic equality, pardon me. They don't have economic equality. They don't have, I mean, we touched on all of this. They don't have those freedoms that they should be having in 2015, 21 years later. And the high unemployment, we're still seeing, for example, there's good stories. So there's a lot more enrollment in universities, but very few of those students actually end up graduating. Now that could be for a variety of reasons. The main one may be financial as well, or also not being heard, certain opportunities not opening up for them. And so only 49% actually end up passing a 3 or 4 year degree. And then when you look at the school as well, we're still seeing, and we looked at figures in 1994, and it was the same in 1994 as that it is now. During the 12-year school period, about between 400,000 and 600,000 young people disappear. They don't get counted into the ultimate matric pass percentage. Yes. And we want to know, like, of course, some of them have maybe gone to work, some of them are heads of child-headed households, some may have fallen pregnant or so forth, but how can we help those young people to stay in school as well? And the thing is, when we look at the unemployment, if we actually add people that have stopped looking for work, so have given up, are not in educational training, it's 67% for young black males and 75% for young black females, and that's shocking. And that's why we say that the born free term is maybe politically, they have political freedom, so in that sense it's true, but when it comes to getting a step out of poverty, taking a step up in life, it's unfortunately not true.
And certainly, I think, this statistic is particularly shocking, this 85% poverty.
Yes.
But at the same time, we should not be surprised. One of the things that happen in any economy is that in order for it to absorb people, it has to be as diversified as possible. So what has happened in the past decade in South Africa, our economy has moved a particular way. So the financial sector, for example, has become more important, and other high-skilled sectors, rather than obviously manufacturing and lower-skilled sectors. And because of the kind of education system that we have, and the kind of also the policies that you'll find. So if you're in for example, a guy like me, for example, if I go into a job interview, or even, when I'm approaching a client, there is still a sense of distrust, or a sense of the way I look, the way I present, a sense of distrust, when, you walk in, because obviously the lack of transformation is reinforcing. So if you don't transform this panel, the ideas that come out of this panel will probably therefore be the same over and over and over again. So it becomes reinforcing, so that we could actually keep talking about the same thing over and over. But as soon as we maybe make sure that there's enough women on the table, there's enough black and white women, there's enough disabled people, then you start to get a sense of the real issues, and then you implement change. And so around even those things where there's just access to a basic job, you struggle, because the people who are sitting on the other side interviewing are unfamiliar with this person. They cannot connect with them, because it's the nature of our country. So we have to transform first to be able to transform, and that's a very difficult thing to do. And those are the things that we actually have to start tapping into.
Well, we're on the right track on this panel, 3 women.
Absolutely.
Shandukani, just a closing comment from you. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we just need to stop talking. Like, it can't just be talk. And I think with transformation specifically, we've been talking, we need to transform, we need to transform, we need to transform. But when are we going to start doing? When are we actually going to start doing the things that we need in order to bring about that change, in order to bring about that transformation? And I think active citizenship is what we need in South Africa, in terms of, we can't always say government needs to do X, Y, Z. We also need to find ways in which we can bring about change. And I think that's those are the kinds of things that we should be in our talks, starting to come up with the solutions. Because yes, we can identify problems, but how do we move forward? How do we change this? How do we get out of the situation we find ourselves in right now?
Thank you so much, ladies and gents. Again, I did say we do push for transformation here. Thank you so much to all my guests for today. That's it for this edition of this week's Finweek Money Matters. We'll see you again at the same time next week. Have a great weekend.